and happy Valentine's Day. Now, if you're sitting home alone, don't fret. You're not alone, actually. New research shows that in large cities across North America, over 50% or close to it of the population is now single. To investigate this phenomenon, Eric Kleinenberg is the author of a new book called Going Solo. He joins us from New York, and Andrea Mrozek, who is the director of research at the Institute of Marriage and Family Canada. They study all things marriage, of course, including the single life. She joins us from Ottawa, and welcome to you both. We'd like to have a conversation here about some of the themes in your book, Eric, which is that going solo is not so unique and maybe not so bad. I'd like to start by asking you what research you found, what surprised you most about the state of singlehood in the 21st century?
Well, first of all, when I started the book, I had no idea just how prevalent it had become. You know, until the 1950s, you couldn't find a single society in human history that had sustained large numbers of people living alone for long periods of time. That has transformed dramatically since then. The affluent, developed countries throughout the world now have enormous numbers of people who are single and living alone. In the United States, it's about half of all adults single, and 28% of all households are one-person households.
So, Andrea, is this a good thing or a bad thing that so many people are not pairing up?
Well, I think the starting point should be on the aspirations of young people, and very high percentages of young people today say they would still like to get married. And so the reality may look different from that, but marriage is still an aspiration for so many people. So on the individual level, I don't think it's negative or positive if people are living alone, but there certainly are benefits to marriage, and it is a desire of so many, more importantly.
All right, Eric, I want to ask you, are people actually wanting to get married that badly, or has that changed, that aspiration changed as well? You talked to 300 people, so what did you find out?
Yeah, and there's a lot of data on this. The overwhelming majority of people would like to get married, and they will marry at some point in their lives. And I should tell you, I'm speaking to you as a married guy with 2 kids at home. My book's not the case against marriage or the case to be single. Here's what's different, though. People want to be in happy marriages, and happy marriages make for happy people. But today, unlike even 50 years ago, when marriages make people feel lonely or isolated because they're not working out, people are opting out of them. Young people also are waiting longer than ever before to get married because they want to make sure they're making the right choice and they're investing in themselves and their careers, establishing their own security because they're concerned about racing into the wrong thing. We also know that people who wait a while to get married are much more likely to stay married.
All right, Andrea, that happiness issue is a big one. Do you think that it is easier to be happy within marriage, considering all the high expectations people have, or to be happier in the single life?
Well, on that point, I would say simply this, is that many people want to get married. Indeed, they do get married. And then I don't think we have evidence that when people remove themselves from an unhappy, low-conflict marriage, which are the vast majority of divorces today are the result of a low-conflict marriage dissolving, there isn't evidence that they are happier having removed themselves from that. And so, you know, marriage is difficult. Certainly, it's not always a walk in the park, and Valentine's Day just comes but once a year for the flowers and the chocolates and all the rest of that. But we don't have evidence that leaving a low-conflict marriage makes people happier.
Okay, Eric, but it does apparently in your book, people being single at least, make for more contributions to society, which is sort of a contradiction. Most people think married people might be more involved in their community. You're saying actually the singletons might be good for society in general.
I was so surprised to learn about this fact. It turns out that compared to married people, people who live alone not only have more discretionary income, they're also more likely to be social. They spend more time with friends. They spend more time with neighbors. They go out into the public and meet with strangers. They're even more likely to participate in civic organizations. I've got to tell you, that was a big surprise to me. But it turns out that marriages can be very greedy, and they can be especially consuming of women's time. And so women in particular become less likely to participate in the public realm and in civic organizations if they have so many domestic responsibilities.
Okay, Andrea, in 30 seconds, your organization is very much in favor of marriage. Faced with that statement, do you think that maybe marriage isn't for everyone, that we need a healthier balance between singles and marrieds for community life to be strong?
Well, marriage isn't for everybody, and that's just fine. But so long as people are interested in having sex and having children, marriage will be part of our society. And so marriage, is the best way to raise children, and children are the greatest sign of hope for our communities and our life and our culture today. So long as we're having children, we'll be needing marriage as a protective way to care for them and raise them.
We're going to have to leave it there. I'm sorry, Andrea Mrozek, Eric Kleinenberg, thanks so much for joining us on National Affairs, and happy Valentine's Day to both of you.
And to you too.